Welcome to NetCamp. This talk is about PR environments, workflow for developing Drupal sites. It's specifically about doing it on DevShop, but basically PR environments is a big hot topic. Everyone's kind of doing it in different ways. Really, this is about best practices, right? So how many people here are already doing like branching, Git branching? Almost everybody. Is everybody doing like automatic pull request environments yet, or have they tried?
Tried it.
Okay. So you basically know the idea, though, right? Like I found Wikipedia, DTAP. We call it DevOps, but it's like been around a while.
Also vaccination, DTAP.
DTAP, yeah, that's the other. Maybe that's why we don't call it DTAP anymore. But you know, this whole process of like to put your software somewhere and test it has been around a while. We call it DevOps now in our world, but you know, we kind of know some of this, so I put this in for some talks because the audience is a little less technical, but you get the idea, right? You push to dev, you try it out a little bit, then you really push it again to another environment, let someone else try it out, make sure it really works, they accept that it is working, and then you really say, okay, you accepted it, I go to production. So, you know, a lot of our DevOps stuff started out like this, you know, and then eventually you realize, okay, we need at least a copy of that somewhere. This is going back like before we had all these platforms as a service. You would get like your website person would have to manage your server, and maybe they'd copy files up and break it. So they're like, okay, one day let's get a dev site. They do that. Maybe eventually they get Jenkins. Maybe you've been some of you are familiar with this screen. It's like the de facto DevOps tool, you know, that people think you need for everything. Eventually you get these like products come about, you know, and this is the Aqua Cloud environment. So that's good. Dev, test, live, stage, prod, whatever. You know, different words for the same thing. RA for release. I don't even know, I forget what the A stands for. But point is, it's like get an environment. You want copies of your websites running so you can build it without breaking the one that people are actually looking at.
Remote admin.
Remote admin?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Same thing with Pantheon, right? Dev, test, live. All these different ways to kind of do this. So always use dev and test and go to production is what we always say in the professional Drupal world. But, you know, don't forget, there's a caveat to that. Make sure dev and test are up to date. Like, dev and test could be anything. You could put some other website there if you wanted to, right? So actually, it's not really proving that it works if it's not the actual latest version of your website on dev, latest version of your website on test. And that means, like, always destroy. You're destroying dev and destroying test, and you're telling me that's what I'm supposed to do? But wait, I was working on that. Oh, oops, I destroyed my whole site building I was working on for days or weeks. This guy knows what I'm talking about. So even with this dev test live, it's kind of difficult. It can be difficult because you still are, it's up to you to kind of copy the database down and make sure you didn't blow away what you were working on and all that other stuff. So
just check and make sure no one else is working on it.
Yeah, and you add one more person to the team and it becomes a whole other mess where you're like, your whole team gets stalled because you're like, I don't want to touch that, I'm scared. Just like what Jeff was talking about. How many people were in the keynote? Everybody? Yeah, it's exactly the same stuff because it's not linear. Even if you're doing it yourself, you should branch your code. So you should branch your environments too, and that's kind of how we roll now. We don't really use dev test live. We use just master on in production, and then every environment's PR. So everybody on GitHub-ish or no? You know, you're kind of familiar with it at least, whether it's GitLab, same kind of thing, merge request. You create a PR, you clone it somehow to another URL so people can look at it. Hopefully you have some kind of test running, they pass or fail, the developer gets notification, that's an important part of DevOps, they actually see that they got a failure and they keep working until it passes, right? So they push again, it rebuilds until the test pass. When they do, eventually, hopefully a human looks at it for a second at least, they click, yeah, it's okay, they click merge and they release, right? So if with this flow, like you're working on one feature, one developer until it's done, you're not like hammering it all down one pipeline all at the same time. You can have like a complicated feature going for however long it takes and then crank out fast ones and release them almost immediately. Style changes, for example, if you're not in the dev test pipeline, you just do a quick pull request, change the color, and off it goes. You don't have to worry about deploying bad code or in progress stuff. So yeah, you can get this done with Jenkins, you know. Jenkins is just a task runner, it just runs whatever you put into it. So you still have to write scripts, you still have to do stuff. There's lots of plugins and things, and you can wire up all sorts of crazy great CI, but this is the UI you get, this is what they gave you. Okay, screenshot's a little old, true. It's a little better now, the Blue Ocean stuff looks really good. But it's still like, a lot of it's on you, the maintenance is on you. This isn't like a project developer-centric design tool. But eventually, like the workflow was clear. So this is James Sansbury's little script. This is what eventually became Tugboat. So he works for Lullabot. They do lots of DevOps. Back then, they actually set this up for, I think, NBC was at the time, the client. It's their Jenkins script to build a pull request, to build an environment from a pull request. So they were able to write this and use it for every project. So it was the first steps in kind of getting there, you know, getting to this reusable process where you're not manually setting up your Jenkins every time. So Matt and Jeff, Lullabot, around this time told me about this. I was like, that's a great idea. Or they said, this, you should put this, maybe that's something you could put into your product, and that's basically what I did. So DevShop existed already, but we were just doing manual environments where you can choose this one on this branch. But to trigger the cycle of automatically creating one, that was just like a lightning bolt moment. And I also realized DevShop is a Drupal site, so I have the webhook receiver right there. I'm already getting the webhook from GitHub to trigger the git pulls. All I got to do is detect the PR, and the PR payload tells me the branch, and I need everything I need to know is there. So a couple modules later, and I was able to set up the pull request workflow that we were all imagining and wanting. So this is like what the homepage looks like when you first start with no projects. And I'm just, from there, we're just going to dive in and make some stuff. So I'm not going to bore you with slides. I thought we could, I kind of do this all the time. So we're going to go and kind of demonstrate in real time and go live. So
Is DevShop something that's provided as a service, or you run it?
yes, it's open source, so you can run it yourself, but we are basically, we've been providing support for servers for a long time, and we're about to start selling you a whole server as DevShop Cloud service. So come talk to us immediately after the talk if you want. But it's also open source so that we can install it behind people's data centers, firewalls, and special places. It's a basic LAMP stack, so it integrates well with existing IT people or teams that want to use their existing Puppet and user authentication, and it's good for them. So, but at the same time, developers, they just want to push a button and get it going. So we're working out how to support all of that as a business. All right, so Drupal Composer project, right? This is the new thing that everyone's building out of. This is a standard way to make a Drupal site based on Composer. It actually works for 7 and 8, so don't think you need to use 8 to use Composer. It's not terribly documented well, but all it is another branch. So if you switch to this 7.x branch, you can see this create project 7.x dev instead of 8, right? This works great in general. We made we forked it and made a better one. So the DevShop Composer template, my Chrome doesn't. If you Google it, it shows up on packages on GitHub, and it has a couple extra bonus things in it. Primarily, it adds a test folder that works out of the box. So you run Composer Create Project, you go to the test folder, you run bin Behat, and it actually runs a passing test, spitting out all the Behat standards. So if you've gone to other Behat sessions or you've ever done it before, the setup is still really manual, the documented setup. It's like, put this Composer JSON file in it, then search for this Behat YAML config, copy and paste it in there. You literally Google it, even if you're an expert, because the thing doesn't have a default in it. So I recently built code to make it all just work. So this is what we're going to do right now to start a brand new project. And we're going to create the repo now, so it's ready for us. Public, create repo. So, this Composer Create project basically just copies this thing into your directory, but it's a great base for launching Drupal site. So, we'll just call it Netcamp. And, you know, Composer always takes a while with these dependency things, but it scaffolds everything you need in there, and then you can basically start building it right away. DevShop has built-in Composer install, so it sees the Composer JSON file and just runs it. So we don't have to do any extra, we're not going to do any extra script writing or YAML configs in this session. One of the other things we do is, you see that right there, it says running Composer install in the tests folder. So we went ahead and wired up the root Composer install runs Composer install in the test folder, because when you're running Behat, that's what you do. You make a separate Composer app, basically Composer JSON, and you're expected to not only run bin Behat, but make sure you run Composer install in there too before it runs. So we're trying to automate everything we could possibly automate here. And that's it. So now we have this new folder. Go to Netcamp, and there's Drupal. So there's web. There's everything we need. So we're going to add it to this repo. Got all that stuff. All right, so now pull request for master on master for the first commit. That's helpful. Well, in the future, you'll see when you create a new branch, GitHub now tells you click here to create a pull request. We'll do that later because this is brand new. So, so there's my new repo. I've got README. I can edit that later. I can now just take this directly and go straight away and start plugging it into our Drupal, our DevShop. So. This is our DevShop that hosts our actual website for DevShop.Support. I got some other sites on here, mostly for demo purposes. But basically, we try to surface all the info you need on one spot. So this is the project code name, and this is the actual URL. So if you click that, it goes straight to our site. I'm already logged in, so it doesn't look like what it would look like for you. You can see our version of Drupal. It's a little old, and we can see all these pull requests here. But if I click the project name, it goes in and I have a dashboard, we call it, right? So the Git URL for easy copy paste, a little drop down for branches. This link to GitHub goes straight back to the Git repo for convenience as well.
Does it only work with GitHub? Or can
Nope.
you use
Any
GitHub?
Git repo, technically. Advanced API integration with GitHub, GitLab, or GitLab and Bitbucket now. And the GitLab is in a pull request already, so someone here, we're going to work on it. But basically, it'll receive any webhook and just pull on all the environments if it doesn't know what branch. If it's just a dumb webhook, like you could even use Acquia Cloud Hooks or something, just to any web ping to that URL will technically just pull all the environments that are on branches. But when it's GitHub, it knows the branch, so it just runs that one. And we just added the GitLab detects that one too. But anyway, so each block represents a site. This is our live site. It shows, that's just the name of the environment. This is what branch or tag it's on, what version of Drupal it's running. We can click here to see the Apache errors, so we surface that. You can add multiple domain aliases. Basically, it's how you go live. So DevShop works by automatically creating the domain name from the environment name dot base domain. And there's lots of other buttons, but this is, we were creating a new project, right? We kind of got diverted there. So I wanted to give you just a quick background. But how do we go to start a new project? All right, so click start new project. Netcamp, paste in the Git URL. So everything runs as the Jaeger user on this server. So we tell you, this is how you SSH in. My key is already uploaded, but we put it in this little form here so you can easily copy it out and put it in your GitHub account so that this user can access this repo. Click next. There's a big form here. So we hope to kind of add pre-clone and analyze to pre-populate this stuff, but basically if you're using Composer project, the path to Drupal is web. It used to be like doc root. If it's an Acquia repo or something, you can leave it blank. It'll also work with just a regular core repo. So it's flexible, doesn't care. This setting's not normally visible, but it's an option. So you can check a box and say, like, I want to customize it. to match the domain I'm working on or something. Deploy hooks are built right in, so you don't have to configure YAML or write scripts. You can just check a box, say every time the code deploys, I want to do these things. You can have a hooks YAML file if you want to. It'll lock each environment, so like if someone's deploying to their dev, it'll force them to use the hooks, or you can let them check a box each time with these things, and also run tests, kicks off the Behat tests automatically.
You have something with like sim,
Say again?
like importing configuration.
I haven't automated that in this thing yet, but the hooks YAML file you could run. Yeah, he's talking about drush config import.
Yeah.
The hook you can put in your hooks YAML file to run that command. It's definitely one I want to do, but the whole hooks system, and I have we'll talk about it later, right? We want to refactor it a whole bunch to make it better, you know, because there's a lot of other things we would do with this too, like check a box and then always copy it from over here. I don't know. But yeah, that's next. If we have our features, we should have drush config import as well. So it's in the backlog there. Deployment automation is just to handle webhook. Webhook is immediate deployment. If you can't have a webhook, some people are crazy about like, don't want to expose this to the web or my GitHub, so it'll pull every minute. If you use Qt or just manual, if you only want to release things manually, the domain name just tracks like what the live domain might be for your reference, because you might use this just for your dev sites. So like if you're a shop and you have your clients are hosted in multiple places, just spin this up and you can put all your sites in one place and make development easier on yourself. You can plug in multiple servers, so you can point at, say, you want this site to be on that server, and then the database too, and force environments to use those. And then the testing it works now out of the box, so we can start right away with this. And then GitHub integration is the pull request thing, which is the title of the session. You go in here, GitHub integration, you check create environments. You want to delete them when they're merged or deleted. You can either run the default install or copy another environment, but we don't have one yet. So we'll come back and configure that in a minute. And then this one will just check this box. It'll blow away the whole environment on every single push, which you may or may not want. And then you hit next, and there it is. So we know the branches. There's only one branch. This is our brand new project, right? There's only one repo, so you can do dev, but let's just call it live right now. We'll start with live. We'll clone from there. So when you hit next, it does a git clone. If I click fast enough, you can actually watch it do the composer install in real time, and boom. Okay, this is a common problem that I thought we fixed in our little thing, but basically, people are using Composer right now? Everybody? Where you run Composer update matters. Like the CLI version of PHP matters, and you could run the update and then it becomes incompatible with older versions. So it's telling me my server right now is running 7.0, but this package needs to be 7.1 for some reason.
You can actually add the config platform to the config.
I thought we did that, so I would need to figure out why that didn't work. I think a number changed, because that's why one of the things we did in the DevShop Composer template.
Okay. Yeah, I ran into that a while back. It was exciting.
Yeah. So he's talking about this right there. Now, it's in there, so I don't know what happened, because that's...
There's also the no platform requirements check option for Composer.
There's a what?
No, like to not check the local environment for the requirements of the project.
Oh yeah? Do you think that's what happened?
It could be. It's like
Which branch is this on?
This is ours, so it's 8.x. Anyway, the quick fix is, we want to fix the template, right? But we also want to get our job done, so I can just SSH in and do it in the environment itself, because this is just a lamp stack.
You're still using Eiger?
That's the whole thing built on Eiger, yeah. For now. So everything goes in projects. That's the main difference with Eiger. You don't have to decide where everything goes, because who cares? So you just tell it the project name, and we put it in the same place for every project, and here's live, and here's the Composer update I can do right here, and that'll check the PHP version I'm running currently, and reset all of the versions to go backwards a little bit. And it still works. but that's a composer thing. It tries to push every version as far ahead as it can.
It's actually good in a live demo for you to run into a problem that everyone will.
Yeah, it's true. Because you saw the config platform. I thought I already solved this problem,
Yeah.
so now I have to
wonder
go back
if
and
it's
figure it
such an
out.
old version of PHP that you set. It might be too far. Too
Actually,
old.
maybe
Yeah.
Like if you set it to
because every version of Drupal they kind of update the
Yeah.
minimum. So that's actually how that's a good point. This is how I figured it out. This is the minimum, or at one point was the minimum version
I
for
was gonna say, how
Drupal.
long did it take you to find that? Because it took me more than 2 hours.
You know what's so funny? They don't promote the idea that it exists, but it's in the core composer itself. Like the composer JSON file
Really?
has that PHP config to set it at a reasonable version. Because composer app itself needs to be pretty broad compatibility, right, with the PHP
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
So what's it require?
Yeah, according to Drupal.org, it's 559 still.
The problem is that it doesn't matter what Drupal requires, is because Symfony can require something different. So that's why you have to have it set as something the same.
Anyway, like I said, this is like platform problems, but now it works. Composer install worked. We've got a git diff, so I'm just going to commit this. So when this happens, all of Ager is just task nodes. So there's a state, it passes or fails, and the failed tasks can just be retried. So you can just click retry, and this thing will go off on its way again, trying to verify the.
But
And we failed
this is
again.
built on G7, right?
Yeah, it's 777. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see what happened this time. Oh, this is a different way. I also need to update. The scaffolding command changed. So Composer has Drupal scaffolds. So there's one more change. I have to add that to the Composer install process. So otherwise, there's no index.php.
I ran into that issue recently too.
Yeah, like something there. Of course, it can't verify there's Drupal. There's no Drupal.
The other one that you might want to just, because these three issues are all related, another one that I recently ran into is if you install a dev module,
Mm-hmm.
Composer clones it, and so you have to remove the .git folder, otherwise
Right.
it won't commit back and it doesn't actually get included
Oh yeah, I can see.
when you try to
If you
deploy
can
it.
ignore it, maybe it'll. Okay, so I don't want to have to run this manually every time, so we can put this command in Composer hooks. And this stuff, pre-install, post-install. Okay, so this is strange. I think the scaffolding command changed, and so if you want to just run another Composer command, you do @ and then just whatever command it is, and it'll just run that after Composer install. So we do it again, just to make sure it does that, and then it runs the. Yeah. All right, sites.php, all that stuff, and now there's Drupal. But it's still ignored, which is cool. So adding Drupal scaffold. Install.
Oh, you opened with a single closed with a double quote. So that didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
fast typing, live demos. Okay, now maybe this will verify this time. We try. There we go.
So is that task manager like more, because most of my experience was with Iger on Drupal 6, and I found that the task running was somewhat flaky.
Yeah.
Has that been?
The install script puts supervisor in there. Like we do, the hosting queue daemon works well.
Okay, so
that was invented years ago, so it probably
Okay.
came after you
Okay.
saw it. It's not really necessarily flaky; it's just keeping it running. So it's like a drush command, basically.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
It wouldn't run.
Right.
So,
So it's easy. You just have to know how to like debug it. Like there's log files you can look at. If you drop a bat drush RC file in there, it'll completely break because drush is global, and so it
Okay.
looks at everything, and the hosting queue command will just stop because you put in bad code, essentially.
okay.
But we can talk about that more later. There's definitely like a architecture plan to make everything better. So look at that. So Ager analyzed all of our site. We now can see Drupal 8.6.3. We've got the umami demo. We've got standard, minimal. Yeah, this is awesome, this umami food demo. And then we also try to automate everything, so we actually do the setup GitHub webhook automatically thing since we have a GitHub API integration. So when I click create, it'll create our live on master and kick off the installation, which is...
But there's already an existing webhook?
This is another silly bug. I don't know what, it's GitHub API, it's there. It creates it and then checks, I don't know. We'll get in there, but it did create it. This is brand new repo. Now every git push will be detected.
Make sure you pull your local before you made all these changes.
Oh yeah. And that's it. The install is done, and we can click there. Whoa. Oh, what? Oh. No. This is my bad. The environment. Live.DevShop.Support is already a domain alias. I can't use that. That's silly. I'll just make another one. So this is when you go to create an environment, you can just press this button. There's a bunch of ways to do it. You can clone an existing one, but we put everything in this form. So I'm just going to create dev on master. And you can select install Drupal, or leave it empty, or clone from live, or import from somewhere else. So I'm going to create the demo umami food magazine. And just click create, because there's a lot of options on what to get to drag down in. But then it does the same thing. So 2 tasks, verify platform happens first. That's doing the git clone composer install. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. All done. That succeeded. And then the site install is the second step. It takes a little longer than minimal because it's doing the whole Drupal magazine thing. The umami profile.
What's the technology you're using to write the system output to the web?
It's an Ager magic trick. So every task that's running is running as a drush command on this site, which so it runs. It's called hosting task, and so all it does is it queues up this verify task. It knows that it's a verify task, and then whatever gets run, whatever drush log is called, it's actually injected into this database, into this site, into the database. So I have all these logs are just in the Drupal database at the front end.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but there's
That's
like
my
modules to clean it up and stuff. But the point, that's kind of one of the nice things. It's very simple. It's all right there. Like I can easily develop little neat features like put the input filter so any link actually turns into a link I can click. You know, like in the log, it's just raw. It's raw.
And how are you reading that continuously?
Just some JavaScript magic, crappy manual JavaScript stuff that I want to get replaced with something better. You know,
Yeah.
I did a little bit with Vue, but it's a lot. All right, so yeah, basically it runs in the context of the site so that it can tell the site change the status to running, start logging all of those queries, and then when it's done, so all the status stuff is stored in there as little properties in the Drupal database table, actually. So I've even wired it up so Jenkins runs that drush command so we can have more than one running and do a little bit more like sometimes your tests can be 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long. So if you can actually rig up Jenkins, ironically, to run the drush hosting task 1, 2, 3, like you can pass the node ID directly and run the specific task. So you just make a Jenkins job, and the node ID is a parameter, and wire it up, and it's pretty good for bigger runs. So wait, did it work? Is it working? Umami. This is Drupal 8, built-in Drupal 8. Install profile. If you haven't seen it yet. It's like an entire magazine out of the box. It's really great. Nothing but core modules. Basic content types, one structured, one not. So like the recipe one has regular fields. It's awesome. How do I get in? This is a brand new site. I don't know, right? So DevShop, Ager, another Ager magic trick. Login button.
And did that use Drush?
It does on the back end, yeah.
Drush ULI.
It's just a Drush ULI and pipes it to the front end. And actually, this one's already expired. It's a silly bug. I don't know why. So I do it one more time.
Well, it was great.
Yeah, it catches it on that install, and then for whatever reason, it expires by the time you hit it. But you can always request a new one, and then boom, you're in. Okay.
This is also good for us to know that we're going to have to do some of these things twice. Or whatever.
Yeah, or maybe not. We'll fix it soon. But yeah, but it's something you do all the time too. You go back in. Oh, I missed the link. I'll click it again. But this is if you really start to want to, you can kind of start to let your managers and things in, and there's permissions on all these buttons actually. So if you want to try to give them a limited role and they can't deploy code to a different branch.
Because the front end is done in Drupal.
Do you still have that like hot swappable upgrade feature where you can like update Drupal if it fails, just roll back the whole thing?
Kind of. No, I mean the Ager platform thing.
Yeah.
No, we just do git pull and move forward.
Okay.
Like it stores every git pull and stores the log. You can see the deployment, but the Ager used to make you'd have to put every change like in a separate platform, and they'd recommend scaffolding the whole another second change to Drupal over here, and then like migrating the site over. So for development purposes, it was impossible because you wanted to make changes very quickly, and so by that time, Acquia Cloud and Pantheon came about, and they're making millions of dollars just doing git pull and running deploy hooks. So that's what we do too. But we can build in the rollback stuff. But the idea is you're doing clones all the time. You'll see how often you can prevent merging to master or doing a release at all until you've run it 100 times doing a test deployment. So basically, I never have to roll back because I've always been rolling forward so often. There's always the crazy sites where you really can't predict maybe they have external dependency or something. Anyway, I want to get into the Behat side of these things, right? So now we have this development site. Let's say we're building it. What do we want to do? We want some actual tests to run, right? So remember I said this package already has it? Well, let's see what happens if this actually works. Yep. So it looks in the folder we told it to run. It runs this command. And it looks like the Behat test does start to run. So this first one runs pwd, and you get the output here. But this next one doesn't run.
How is it running? Wait, it's running Behat, but then it says bin Behat not found.
Yes, this is because this test is running itself, basically. It's not running the whole test. It's running bin-behat-dl, which prints the definitions list of Behat. It prints out all the possible steps, and so this way I can verify that it does actually work. It's kind of silly, but this is I wanted to put one example test in there, so you could get started. But the reason it's not working is because this drush command is failing because I need a little API thing here. So now we get to start editing stuff. Or you don't have to click, you just scroll up and this little icon will take me right to the GitHub page. I go into the test folder. I'm not going to even bother because we're in a session. I can just use GitHub.
Wow.
I can click edit. I can just put API here because without this API I can't call drush. This special step, or the failure does some special stuff and it needs drush. So I got to add this API to all my tests. And you'll see everything deploys. So the GitHub deploy actually that save triggers a git push, which triggers the git deploy on all these sites. So the dev site automatically does a git pull, yada, yada, yada. Another composer install, no database updates required. So you didn't have to configure that. It always knows. And that's the cycle. You just git push, deploy, git push, deploy. So the standard environments that are just branch environments, we call them, don't get destroyed. They just stay there until you do something with them. You can copy data from other environments by pushing this data button. So it lists all the other environments I can copy from live. There's even
database? Or
database and files.
and files?
Yeah. I'm going to destroy this one because the
How
DNS
long
is
have you
busted.
worked on this?
It'll be 7 years in February. All right, I'm going to destroy this one, switch it to prod. Bye-bye, so you can just click delete site.
Its UI is so much nicer.
What?
The UI is so much nicer.
Then Ager?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main thing. Oh, let's try it again. Interesting.
What's the head API? Is the spacing right?
All right, well, we're going to find out. The GitHub was set, right? GitHub integration, clone. What? Where's dev? Yeah, that's good. All right, wait, we're done. That's right, I was going to skip ahead to my real site because we have a lot more tests that work and we don't have to deal with this new project stuff. So that was fun. I've got a PR I need help on. It's pretty good. We're redoing our pricing, right? So currently on our homepage, it's like basic, your standard stuff with like professional, business, enterprise, whatever, but I'm building a system to let you get a server. So what I want to do is make sure that when you press certain buttons, the price comes out correctly on the other end. So, because you're buying a server, you want this size and this number of users or whatever to equate to a certain price, because we're building a SaaS, right, to do this thing. So my Drupal code, this is just another Drupal site we're building. This is the portal you'll be using if you become a customer of us. You'll click Get a DevShop Server, choose whatever team you want to put it on. Let's see, Jupyter, right? And it'll choose your tier. So this is something we built actually using taxonomy. So these are all actually fields, the dollar amount per month and the number of free users, and all these things are actually programmed in, including the extra users and all of this stuff, the upgrades. So what I want to make sure is this actually works. Clearly it's important, it's money, right? So I think that's right because I wrote the code, but I want to write a test to really confirm it. So what I can do is look at this PR that I have going on here. I want to see, let's see where the state of the tests are. So I can click this button to view all the different tasks that ran, run tests. That looks green, that's all green. Oh, look at that, or log in with. Right, so this text changed, right? It must have changed. So what happened was, and this is one of the features of our new Behat extension, it spits out better debug information. This part is Behat. It tells you was not found in the text of the current page, but it doesn't tell you where that page was or anything else. So we wrote a little plugin to react to the failure to tell you where it happened. So it'll tell you the actual URL, the live URL, so I can click that and see. Oh, that doesn't make sense because I'm logged in, right? But I can see what did the test see. It's actually saving that file, the HTML output. So I can click that and see. That's what I wanted to see. This is just static HTML that the test runner saw. And that gives the developers super easy insight into what's wrong with the test. So instead of, we changed the text here for sign in with something else. Right? So if I go back to look at the test or log in with, that's the wrong part. I can go right back to the PR. I can go to files changed and look for this feature file. Wait, where was it? I should just look here. Yep, some other servers. Right here. Or log in with. I changed this. Sign in with. Or, ooh, it's actually case sensitive. And that's CSS doing that. So I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. So if I look at this, and I inspect, I don't want to waste our time here with all these pushes, tests, get it right. First time it's camel case here. All first character. And I don't think this exists either, so I'm just going to leave it out for now. It's better to have a passing test than no test at all. Like, even if you have to comment it out, I don't know why this one won't pass. It looks fine to me as a human. It happens. Just comment it out. So you commit, and I'll show you the PR UI this time. We saw all the moving gears on the DevShop side, but we also interact with the GitHub UI, right? So you put your API key, and it'll actually, you can tell GitHub where it's going. So you see the URL there, and so the developers don't even have to leave GitHub. They can just click, this is a link to the environment itself.
So the some checks haven't completed yet? That's you?
This is GitHub. It's me pinging GitHub to tell it.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
that's like Circle CI. It's
right.
actually tracking the test.
Yeah, this is called the GitHub commit API. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but you can tell GitHub any number of checks. So like every system uses this basically, even Platform SH and
Yeah, we did this with Travis now.
Probo and Travis does it. Yeah, so but basically, yeah, this way you can tell the deploy is a test and the tests are a
I
test.
see.
The deploy is just the git pull and the update DB.
What's under details?
This is a link to stuff. So this is a link to the actual dashboard. We tell it the link as well. So GitHub lets us tell GitHub API what the link is. So this link goes straight to the test results, but they're not quite running yet, so it doesn't link there.
This is cool.
Thanks.
How many people are working on this?
It's mostly me, but I got PRs, at least 3 or 4 a year, and more. It gets more and more. But there it is. So the deploy worked. You can click details to see the deploy task. It goes straight to the deploy task. So you can see what happened there. And yeah, and it actually changes the tense to say deployed to, and you can click that to see there's the new code. Well, I didn't change any code, but we changed the test. So here we go to the bottom, and we have test failure. So, but I can quickly click details, go straight to the test results, scroll down, see where it failed. Didn't see. So why did it
Killing
see?
smalls.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, see, there you go. And I didn't. My test isn't filling out enough information. I removed the size, or I'm not displaying the size, I guess. So small is not on this page. That's correct. Yeah. This was started at 3, right? 15 minutes. So anyway, you kind of get the idea. I'm going to go in and write. Given I fill in this for that, I'll show you. Let's look at the test run in more detail while it rolls by, because I don't have to wait for a commit. It's Anchor. I could just click retry and run the thing again. So that's handy. So if you're not using Behat and the Drupal thing, you really should. Like, given I'm logged in as a user with certain roles, you can switch from one user to the other. It'll save your life if you're doing anything with access control. Anything where you have a complex form that you absolutely have to catch a bad data before it gets in there, you can convert. I start writing a test and I start writing a form, but then I say, wait a minute, the very first step should be, then I press the submit button, and I should see, no, this is required.
Right.
So before you even fill in a thing, go ahead and write the one extra line that says press the button, just to make sure your empty text validation is working, for example. So I've done some really, really complicated testing where, like, you can upload files. I have a test that uploaded like 4 spreadsheets, and only one of them had good data, specifically so we could catch like a bad date that someone was entering because the system passed on that thing into other stuff. And so our Behat tests were able to catch even this like bulk uploader system. It was awesome.
How much of your Behat testing is writing custom, whatever you call them,
Steps.
steps?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on how much work you want to do there.
Syntax
Not
side
much.
on the
Very little.
feature side.
Yeah. Once in a while, there's like a little, like I add a couple extra steps to the Behat plugin. I'll show you. We wrote our own Behat extension that simply extends the one that exists, and we created, like, then I take a screenshot, and when I run command, it just does shell exec on the command. And like this one didn't exist in the Behat extension because it only did an exact match on the label. And so I needed to test that. That's where the small thing came in, or that was actually that small was later. But I select the radio button because I grew my radio buttons to include a bunch of text in that label, so I couldn't put all of that text in my test. So I rewrote this. I'll show you know. So it really, really depends on your project, because like there's a really good blog post by Earl Miles. Hey Jeff. There's a really good blog post about Earl Miles about how, like, I think it was Earl, you can totally overdo it with these Behat tests because you'll have like 100 steps just to replicate like one node or something. Once you get to that point where you've debugged that, you might want to just put that test away, or at least maybe comment it out in case you get that bug again, you need to replicate that. But writing one function to like create the node and like, you know, it can be better because if the Behat test, you can show your stakeholders and stuff. And once it gets too long, it gets a little, you lose track of where you are, you know, because the machine is running and the person's trying to catch up. But if you have a step that simply says, given that crazy situation exists that's causing all hell to break loose, you put into the code, And it's the Mink libraries are super easy to use. It's all object oriented. So if you use PHP, you just say like Mink context, then I click this. Every step refers to a method already, so you can recreate all of this stuff in PHP code.
I like that.
It's all there ready for you to play with. Anyway, yeah. All right, let's see. But let's do a little simpler one because I like to end with the deployment because it's fun. Yeah, I actually just merged one for tests, so we can make a new one because I have something else on my homepage. Yeah, that's right. I have the new login with GitHub thing on my homepage. So I simply just want to make sure this is here. Join with GitHub. So, right, one test is infinitely better than 0 tests. So we're going to add one line and deploy it just because we can in less than 5 minutes. So I go into GitHub. This is even cooler because they just built a great UI here. I can open up. No, let's not do service. Let's use this test. I can hit edit. I can see, given I am an anonymous user, when I'm on home, then I should see join with GitHub. I assume this is case 2. Let's just be sure.
Are you able to look into the properties of things?
Oh yeah, you can do selectors and like, yeah.
Lowercase w and it's a capital H.
Cool.
That crazy cat.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do like, given this text should appear in this element, like all sorts of stuff.
And is that Gherkin, the language that you described?
Yeah.
It's like both.
So this will even let me make a new branch and make a new pull request very quickly. The tests. Create pull request. It pings DevShop. Pings right back. I keep forgetting to go check the box to trigger live. The first deployment doesn't run the tests because the environment's not set up to do it. But I can go back in, run the project, right? Support. There's PR43 on its way. There it is. So you can go to environment settings and change the deployment hooks to run tests. save. And this time the install is a sync. So you can see here it's doing the database sync. My database is getting bigger and bigger all the time, so it's a little slow. There we go. Registry rebuild, updating database, revert all features. Totally done. Clear the caches. And it's green. So now there's PR43. Okay, we've got the clone. Can we get a test run on that sucker?
I didn't see the button.
That was an old tab. So I'm just going to run it by hand once, and then we'll go in and edit the test to make sure if it doesn't work. There it goes, composer install.
So this is installing into the test folder?
It's running composer install inside the test folder, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still have your own custom composer. Oh, didn't work. Weird. I think it's a button. You have to say, oh,
There is no button.
whoa.
The test worked.
So technically, the test is passing.
Exactly.
What was that? Oh, because this branch is not my pricing branch. There is no GitHub button there yet. The GitHub button is in my PR, in my other PR. That's not ready to merge.
Branching and merging.
Fine, no problem. We'll just use some other text.
Rebase.
Yeah, I could do a cherry pick of that one button. Wait a minute, I kind of want to. Now you mention it. I mean, it's just a button. The GitHub login already works. And I'm doing demos, and I'm like, click sign up, and then click GitHub. Then click login with GitHub. So yeah, let's cherry pick that. Why not? It's just crazy enough to work. Pricing model redux. Yep. Clock is ticking, 8 minutes.
That is a monster pull request.
Yeah, it's getting big. Well, it's changing our whole pricing model and getting like automated calculations.
Hopefully
But I know where the file is. It'll be faster to find the file in the commit. It's a special CPL, I think. Yeah, this one. It's totally static hackery. There it is. So, what's the commit? What's the commit?
I think the drop down. I think the drop. Oh no.
It's fine. File. There it is. All right, GitHub won't let me cherry pick, I think, so. And camp tests. Yeah? Nope. That's too much. That's going to be a lot of stuff, I think. All right, we won't do this.
Let's run it, see if your test passes.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. What's the last one, show?
Log in with GitHub. Oh no, that's just the test itself.
Whatever. So there it goes. There's the automatic test trigger sitting there queued.
This is really, I can see how it's useful for sure.
The install is install is generic term, Jeff, for clone or install. Because it's much easier to say it's installed from that status of that task.
So you had mentioned before that like you can add some of your own hooks or whatever to
Yeah.
the YAML file.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what kind of control that gives you over the workflow and stuff as well. Like if you were to do a clone but you did it from somewhere else and then want to do a config import or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it basically, yeah, you can have a test, you can hook it on test, or you can hook it on deploy. I think even other things, I think even verify, I put it in there. So whatever's in there is just run. as like shell exec or whatever.
Yeah, it's
So,
running Drush in the background, so anything you can do with Drush.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you thinking specifically? I mean, I try to make it possible to do whatever you need, so hit me up after if you have ideas, like what you're thinking of.
Okay. But I mean, it basically has like those few steps for the workflow and always follows those few.
Yeah, basically all the stuff that's kind of standard for all Drupal, we put in, we try to build in, you know, because instead of making you do it over and over again for every project.
So can you also prevent it from doing things in there? Or, well, I guess
What do you mean?
you're saying it's just, so it
Most-
comes with the default set of tasks and you can totally modify what that set of tasks is, basically, per project or whatever.
Well, I mean, what would you want to modify? Like, there's a git
Well,
deploy
say you
task
wanted
is
to
git
do
pull
config
and.
install instead of site install,
Oh, right.
that kind of thing.
No, the install runs a site install profile.
So like you can't.
I would like to do that. We could talk about doing that, customizing that. But the config install is now default. You can just drop the config folder in there. You don't even need a separate command for Drupal site install. When you make a profile, you can now just copy a whole config folder into the install profile. It'll automatically import that config. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then you don't need a special install command.
Okay.
Okay. Uh-oh, 4 minutes. So, silly test doesn't work. Then I should not see join with GitHub.
Oh, now you got
Boom!
it. Now you got it.
That way we can fix it later. It'll fail. That mean it'll fail in my PR. So it'll remind me to fix my test because it will see the join with GitHub. So away it goes. Once again. All right, yeah. When I click merge, it just deploys to master. So you can imagine it, and I'll let us end with some questions as we wait for the final test to pass. So that's my talk. Yeah, let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick,
Slides.
how to get the thing, though, our open source placeholder website, get-devshop.com, has links to the GitHub, Gitter, chat room, documentation. The one-line install script is right there. You can find it on that page. This is the docs page. This is our portal for signing up for the service that we're trying to launch. And that's it. Mushroom PR environments and Behat testing session at NetCamp. Any questions? Thanks. And yeah, I'll be there for another couple hours at the tables and at the after party. So if you want to talk, hit me up.
Very cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.